John? All right. I'd like to call F&A committee to order. Please note attendance. And we'll proceed on with approval of the agenda. Are there any revisions or comments in regards to the agenda as presented?
Sure.
Yeah.
Wonder if we could just add a brief discussion of financial reporting.
My only, I don't want to put Drew on the spot by himself.
No, it's just bringing up a topic that
Okay.
needs addressing. Not, no, it's gonna be on
I
the
just
spot tonight.
don't we, all right. You want to discuss it tonight or put it on the, what I'm asking is discussion tonight or discussion maybe in the next F&A, and maybe we can have Jen in presence.
You can do either. The issue is something's, we're breaking state law, and I'd like to get it resolved sooner than later.
Okay, let's introduce and then discuss the next F&A.
Fantastic.
Okay. Any objections to that addition?
No objections.
All right, no objections. We'll add that. Why don't we add that as item number 4, right after budget amendment? We'll talk about budget reporting in the discussion section.
Is that future items or discussion tonight? I thought those were future items.
Was the intent on section 3, upcoming agenda items, information only? We're not going to discuss those tonight?
Correct.
Okay. So after we go through the claims, let's have your discussion, because we have no agenda bills, and then we can move on to approve of the council minutes.
Yeah.
We'll approve the council
that's it.
agenda, which shouldn't take that long. I mean, all right. With that alteration, any objections to the agenda as discussed?
No objections.
No objections. Hearing none, we'll proceed on. So let's move on to public comments. Any individuals wishing to make public comment, either present here or online, please raise your hand. And we will take comments up to 3 minutes-ish. All right, I see no hands raised. Oh, all right, you guys are attendees, not panelists. Yeah, all right. With that, we'll proceed on with the rest of the agenda. All right, let's approval of the minutes dated June 21, 2023. Chair has no revisions or questions. Are there any revisions, comments from other committee members? Hearing none, unless there are objections, we will approve the minutes as presented. Hearing no objections, we will proceed forward. So the minutes are approved. Let's move on to approval of warrants and claims. Consideration claims approval reported July 10th, 2023. Councilor Mayhew, my understanding is you had 2 questions.
Well, 2 that is actually 5. I don't seem to know how to count.
Oh, I may have.
Well, I did say 2 and then actually list 5.
That's where I got. Okay. Do you want the email for?
Yeah, no, I'm looking at it here. I think most of these, Mr. Boutte, are sort of just informational questions, which you may or may not have tonight. And I don't need the answer tonight. I'm just hoping to get the answer before council meeting. The first is there's a disbursement for $25,000 to Panorama Apartments for ARPA rent assistance. Just want to check in on what that is. Is that just the ARPA funds disbursement that we decided on some time ago and it's just finally getting dispersed, or?
That is correct. So in
Okay.
essence, council approved a contract with Helping Hands basically to do the kind of collation work, I guess I would say, for the most part, to figure out who actually needs assistance as a resident out there. Some of those residents happen to be at the Panorama Apartments. In essence, this check would be to support their kind of rental payments.
Got it. Okay. Thought that would be that. Just wanted to make sure. All right. That's question number 1. The second question is there was a disbursement to Key Bank for just under $1 million. Just under $1 million. I assume that's just an investment, a short-term investment of some type.
If it says KeyBank Capital Markets,
It does.
which I'm hoping it does, yes, in essence, probably a maturity date happened. In essence, we got the money and now we're reinvesting that money back out there to earn a higher interest rate.
All right. That's what I thought it was. And so what I was just curious about, is what are the approvals in place for a transaction of that size? Who has to approve that? Is that something that's laid out in our disbursement policy? And again, this requires you to know it off the top of your head. So if you want to look later, just let me know. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm really just
so-
curious what our approval levels are.
There's an
on this.
investment policy and that could have been wrapped into the financial management policies. I would like to go back and actually take a look at that prior to answering. this
Thank you. I
question.
don't have any particular concern. It just, the transaction made me just think
Mhm.
that, hey, what are our approvals on that? And just,
Mm.
it's a good chance to just
Yeah.
double check that and make sure they make sense.
An illustrious council member in the past said it's good hygiene.
Good
So,
hygiene.
yes,
That's
yeah.
right.
Blast from the past, yeah.
Sun's getting to you, but go ahead.
The third item is, there's a disbursement for 161,000 to CDW Government Inc. I think it's computer supplies and parts and licenses. It looks like various things in there from what was there. But the bulk of the total is listed on, the information was provided in the support that we were given, is listed as MISC parts, MISC parts.
Okay.
So I basically don't know what it's for. I think that gets resolved easily enough if I just look at perhaps the voucher package or the invoice, which would be in the voucher package. So I thought if I just have a quick look at that,
Okay,
I probably don't have any further question. It seems pretty straightforward, but I thought it was worth just asking about given the amount.
okay.
I think
No,
I think I can answer the next one. Go on.
He's looking ahead.
Okay.
So one of the things we write a check for, and this rings a bell with me, I think is very normal for us, routine process. The check is to City of Snoqualmie UB. And I'm just curious, I think that has to do with, I think, just moving money between funds. I'm just curious why we do that by check or warrant as opposed to just, a journal entry. And again, I don't want to put you on the spot. If you want to give an answer 2 weeks from, at our next meeting, that's fine. There's nothing urgent about this question.
So let me try to give you a preview answer. What I'm suspecting this is our Parks Department utilizes irrigation.
That's what it
water
looked
for the
like.
most part.
Yep.
And so
Utility bill.
pretty much they have a utility bill, there's an account through our system, a journal entry. Maybe doesn't quite make sense. I'm not sure. But I can certainly ask our financial services manager if there's a reason why we don't go that route.
Okay,
specifically.
just curious, really. There's no issue. And then the last question is the claims report is signed by someone listed as the auditing officer, which is Mr. Knutson. And so my question is, for whatever reason in my mind, I thought Ms. Ferguson was the auditing officer. So I was just curious, is that something that we, the council, points, not the word I'm looking for, approve, I guess, whoever the auditing officer is, and it has or how does it come to be that person is Mr. Knutson?
Okay.
Just curious. That's just a process question. I don't have an objection. I'm just curious, trying to remind myself or understand what the process is by which that's who it became. But the follow-on question then, which is also in the email I sent you, is does Mr. Knutson have a significant role in let me try that again. Does Mr. Knutson have a role in approving those claims, the vouchers, that he then is the auditing officer for? Now, if it's one or two, I think I don't have any concern. If that's half, or, then I would just want to think about segregation of duties kind of thoughts here. So, but before I sort of get to that, I just want to ask the question, to what degree is he auditing things where he's a significant number of those, he's one of the approvers? Does that make sense, the question?
I think getting a response out of him would be most appropriate in this circumstance. Yeah,
Sure.
so that you can explain the process and what his involvement is overall in approving.
All right, so those are all my questions. I think with regard to just approving the claims report on Monday, let me just be sure. Yeah, none of my questions would cause me to have any problem approving this on Monday, but I would like to get answers when you're able to.
Okay.
especially on the amounts or the CDW. And if you can before Monday, great. I know we're on a real short week, so if you don't, that's also
Yeah.
okay.
No, I think we'll be able to get you an answer on that CDW.
And I think Councilor Washington and myself would like to be CC'd on that.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments in regards to the warrants? Any objection to their approval? Hearing no objections, the warrants are approved as presented. We currently have no F&A agenda bills, discussion items or upcoming, and we can proceed on to review of draft council agenda. Let me get back down there.
You can do that before my item.
Oh, let's back up. Sorry, good. We had one item before review of the council agenda was financial reporting discussion.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, look, I don't expect a response tonight. I think Chair is absolutely right. This is just bringing something up for discussion, but I am aware that the last financial report that the city published to this committee or to the public was Q3 of last year. So there was no Q4, no Q1, and of course now Q2 is in. It's not due yet, but those other two reports are now, I think, delinquent under. Let me say this differently. They, we might want to look into whether they're delinquent under state law and whether we need to move expeditiously to cure that. There was some discussion that we had over the last 9 months about what the content and layout of those reports would be. So I know Ms. Ferguson was working on, or I believe her to have been working on sort of revising those, and that's great. But I think we probably need to get either the old format. We need to get something, I think, published so that we're not out of compliance.
Okay. What I would say to that is fair point. As you mentioned, we have been revising that for the most part. It is our budget analyst, Ms. Walker, has certainly put something together for the most part. We just haven't had really time to review and edit that. So in essence, it's been delayed due to some other work that we've been challenged with basically in the department overall. But yeah, under state law, we do have to meet the commitments to council, and that would be our intention, especially moving forward. So thank you for bringing this to our attention, and we'll make sure that that's a priority for this committee.
So Chair, I just wanted to bring that up. So
Yeah,
I could get
can we have that on the agenda for next F&A, please? All right, so with that, let's move on to next council agenda. So we'll roundtable at 6 p.m. with a special business affordable housing discussion. Question seems like I'm gonna jinx it. Seems like a pretty light agenda. Do we need to start at 6 or can we do roundtable at 7?
Let's do this at 6. That way you can always get out earlier. This 7 p.m. meeting.
Right,
And
so
staff can too.
roundtable is 6, will affordable housing discussion. 7, we'll start in regular council agenda, call to order, pledge of allegiance, agenda approval, public hearings, presentations. And appointments, agenda bill 23093, interim police chief appointment, move to appoint Brian Lynch as, sorry about that, as city of Snoqualmie interim police chief with the recent departure of our chief. Okay, and from there, we'll move into a swearing in ceremony of police officer Joseph Spears and fire lieutenant badge penning. From there, presentation proclamations, public comments, requests for items not on the agenda, consent agenda. We'll have a claims report and minutes. You read my mind. I was the only attendee for Parks and Public Works. Therefore, I did not propose any of these Parks and Public Works items for consent. I left them on as open discussion. So public safety, no agenda bills, city community development committee, no agenda bills, public Parks and Public Works agenda bill and icon materials overlay project. That's an expansion of the current overlay project. Even with the expansion, it will be under budget. Specifics are in the agenda bill. resolution number 1651, adopting of the water systems plan, which we prior reviewed toward the end of last year, and some efficiency target goals. Not big controversial agenda bills, but again, I didn't feel comfortable doing consent on my own. Okay. F and A, committee of the whole. Nothing. We'll get into mayor's report, commission liaison report, department reports, and is this just a placeholder or do we have a specific discussion for executive session?
We do have specific discussion, and that was one thing I mentioned to you earlier.
All right, and that is the agenda for next week. Any questions, comments, or proposals for revisions?
I have my hand up, Chair. This is Emily Artiche, Community Development Director.
Okay,
I was just wondering about the committee, the roundtable topic for affordable housing. Is that a staff driven or a council driven topic? I'm just a little bit curious to know where we're at with that. The CD committee has been working on that issue. And so if this is different than the CD committee's issue, what is there staff? Do you need staff to prepare something for that meeting?
so this is not council or committee driven. This is administration driven. If you have concerns or questions, please direct them to the mayor during normal working hours. Okay,
Thank you.
you betcha.
I think it's actually more for the Affordable Housing Task Force that's been working together. And I don't know, Councilmember Washington, do you know?
Well, we have a meeting, we had a discussion today with Rob's group, and we have an additional meeting tomorrow with the public policy subcommittee that I'm leading. And I guess my question is that this was driven by administration, the conversation.
Well, let me,
Yeah,
let's take it back a
Okay.
step. So who is proposing this workshop?
So I'll step out here and say that.
Who's the sponsor?
So I'll step out here and say that we're having a discussion tomorrow, but at this time, I'm not prepared to have a discussion on the public policy subcommittee as of yet.
So help me, because the rocks are getting slippery here for me. Public policy subcommittee to what?
The Affordable Housing Task Force.
The city's affordable housing task force or an external task force?
External task force.
Then we have a representative who
Yep.
is chairing it, and
Mhm.
Councilor Louis Washington, say Louis Washington,
Mhm.
but and Christensen are on.
She's chairing a different subcommittee, is my understanding, and I don't know which one off the top of my head, but she chairs a different subcommittee.
So most likely is the work that they have been doing, but we can confirm that also with Councilor Martin. Sounds like you may not be ready for your portion of it.
Correct. Just, just where we are right now, there's, some discussion that'll probably take place tomorrow. And, we're in the process of outlining what an RFP would look like for the city. And, but we're not really prepared. We're in discussions of having preparations, but we won't probably have that prepared to present until this fall.
Okay.
So at this time, there's really, for next week, the subcommittee, we wouldn't be ready to present it for next week.
Okay, so I'm gonna back up though, because I have an external entity.
Okay.
Requesting time on the council agenda. This is not city charter. This is an external entity. If we want to do, this could be railroad days, whatever.
Mhm.
But if an external entity wants to have a roundtable discussion with us, I would request that we have a discussion here in F&A of what the contents of that is and the expectations of council in regards to that. and then we put it on the agenda. I'm now uncomfortable with this on the agenda and motion to take it off.
Second.
Are you comfortable with? This seems a little loose right now, and I don't
Right,
want
I
to put it.
agree. We can probably move it to some other date. We'll, once the
Yeah, this is
task force
not,
kind of decides. Because we had discussed this in the past where like Councilmember Watton and the group would talk through what they have been doing for the task force
Mhm.
and those items. So this is what that would be, but I have a text out to him to find out. But I think. we
okay,
can-
but
we
if
can move
if
it.
Mountain to Sounds wanted to come talk to us about what they've been doing, that might be a presentation. Unless there are specific expectations of the council, then we could do workshop. So again, I understand there are there are council members on this, but it is not a city function nor council function. It is an external function. So as such, it ought to be treated the same as we do Mountain to Sound, the Greenway, whatever. More than happy for them to come tell us what's going on. That's a presentation. If there's expectation of interaction, that's a workshop, but we ought to discuss up front. What are the expectations of that interaction and what may be the questions for decision on the council's part?
So just point of order, Brian, just to make sure I follow you. So, in working with the subcommittee, there's nothing I would necessarily present, but if the subcommittee decided to make a presentation to the council, that presentation will be made here first at FNA. And we talk through it before it moved to a council.
I don't know that we would need to go through the presentation, but at least just what is the purpose of the engagement?
Okay,
Okay, and what are the expectations of council and what might be the questions or decisions council might be asked to make? And from there, we put it on the agenda.
and I ask this questions because we are moving forward in hopes of having an RFP. So kind of what just being new on the council, what the process would be for that.
An RFP for,
Or a potential affordable housing project. the way I understand.
okay, let's have that discussion because
Okay.
again, I have to play in my head, Mountain to Sound Greenway.
Okay.
And in terms of an RFP to the city, how would we do them? And we shouldn't treat this task force any differently than we do like Mountain to Sound Greenway.
Okay.
If you guys are intent on coming and asking, we're gonna do affordable housing project, here's what it's gonna cost, here's Snoqualmie's portion, North Bend's portion, King County portion, what the whole picture is. Let's talk that, and then I don't want to blind, the three of you who are wearing your other hats are in there may fully understand it. Four of us do not. And I don't want to blindside the council.
So that conversation would happen here.
Happen here.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so if there are no objections, and Mayor, if you're okay, let's go ahead and
Remove it for now.
based on attendance tonight, let's go ahead and remove the workshop for next week.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I'm gonna give.
So no
Joe
round
a-
table. We'll just go.
No round
Yeah.
table, 7 o'clock, we'll start regular council.
So you motioned, you had a second, but you never
Oh,
voted.
Second.
But I think we
Too
had-
late.
No, he's
I
second.
seconded.
Oh, did
Uh,
second?
Any,
Yeah,
all right,
call
let me,
vote.
any objections to that?
No.
And really, at committee level,
Yeah, that's why I was confused.
I really want to make sure that it's a consent. Excuse
Okay.
me, not that consent, but it's the consent of administration and the committee that we're making these changes.
Yeah, we'll do form vote. Okay.
He's second.
Oh.
After discussion, we determined remove it until further. notice. Okay.
I didn't know I was making a motion, but I seconded.
I know.
I probably should have made a motion, but anyway, it started from the back. All right, with that,
Thank you.
executive session, we'll have that and then we're adjourned. Any other revisions or changes to the council agenda? All right.
Nope.
Any objections to the council agenda as discussed? She's timing me. All right, we'll take the council as discussed and revised and move that forward for next week. Any other items for discussion before the committee before we adjourn? Hearing none, unless there are objections, we are adjourned.
Right.
No objections, we are adjourned.
Right.
Thank you.